I'm Anna, and in this space, we explore the unspoken truths behind human connection, the emotions people feel but rarely admit, the patterns they follow without realizing, and the silent shifts that change everything. What you're about to hear isn't just advice, it's perspective, the kind that makes you pause, reflect, and see your own experiences in a completely different light. If you've ever felt that quiet gut signal whispering that something in your relationship has shifted, even when everything still looks normal on the surface, keep watching. What I'm about to share might finally explain those subtle feelings that never quite made sense. Before we dive deep, take a moment to subscribe and like this video. Not for me, but for your own growth. Understanding how relationships and human psychology operate gives you the power to see patterns that most people miss until it's far too late. The smallest insights can sometimes protect you from the biggest heartbreaks, and this conversation is all about learning to recognize the truth before it blindsides you. Here's the reality. Betrayal or emotional disconnection rarely strike like lightning. Most men believe it comes out of nowhere, a sudden, brutal shock. But in truth, human behavior always leaves a trail. Emotions shift gradually, sending quiet signals long before anything physically changes. These clues show up in patterns, changes in tone, habits, energy, or engagement that seem harmless at first, but start to add up. Yet when a man truly loves someone, his mind instinctively defends the bond. It rationalizes and explains things away. Maybe she's tired, stressed, distracted. But those micro moments matter. Emotional distance, secrecy, fading curiosity, each one whispers a truth the heart often isn't ready to face. Awareness is the first step in seeing what's really unfolding. Over many years of observing couples and individuals, certain patterns appear again and again, subtle, consistent, and deeply human. When a woman begins investing emotionally elsewhere, it rarely happens with open declarations. Instead, her behaviors shift piece by piece, confusing her partner who senses change but can't identify it. It's not usually about malice, it's about emotional compartmentalization. People can still care deeply, yet redirect parts of their focus toward what feels new or emotionally validating. This quiet divide creates tension and guilt that leak through body language, tone, and presence. The confusion a man feels isn't imaginary. It's the echo of misaligned emotional currents that inevitably reshape the relationship from within. The danger lies in how overlooked those early signals often are. Most men notice something feels off, but immediately dismiss it. They tell themselves, "It's just a phase," or "I'm overthinking." But by doing so, they allow small changes to grow silently into real distance. Emotional disconnection is rarely sudden. It builds in layers of ignored intuition. The key isn't blame or paranoia, it's understanding. What I want to share today isn't about suspicion, it's about awareness. When you learn how emotional shifts show up, you gain the ability to respond consciously instead of reacting blindly, turning confusion into clarity and fear into strength. The first sign is often so quiet it slips by unnoticed. It isn't a dramatic withdrawal or sudden coldness, it's a slow dimming of energy. The spark that once made conversations bright starts to fade. The emotional warmth that used to flow effortlessly begins to cool, almost imperceptibly at first. Texts might become shorter, laughter less genuine, curiosity about your day less alive. This isn't usually intentional. It's emotional energy subtly reallocating itself. Men often fall into the trap of trying harder, texting more, planning surprises, giving affection in hopes of reigniting the connection. But when emotional currents shift, effort alone can't fix the imbalance. The real solution lies in understanding what feeds connection and what drains it. Think of emotional attention as a battery. It only has so much charge. When energy starts flowing towards something or someone new, the power left for the original connection naturally drains. That's why emotional distance often appears first, long before anything concrete happens. She may still talk, laugh, hug, and share space with you, but the depth feels lighter, the enthusiasm dimmer. It's not that she suddenly dislikes you, rather, her emotional focus has started transferring somewhere else. Attention is the currency of intimacy, and when it's being redirected, every interaction begins to feel slightly thinner, less grounded in the warmth that once came so naturally. What often follows is confusion, because irritation begins replacing affection. Small habits that once seemed endearing now feel like annoyances. Conversations that used to flow easily start turning tense, and you begin to sense her emotional withdrawal as impatience or coldness. Here's the hidden psychological truth. When someone feels emotionally conflicted, their brain unconsciously creates distance to reduce guilt. That internal tension translates into frustration and detachment. Meanwhile, most men react by seeking more reassurance, trying to fix what feels broken by proving their love or devotion. But reassurance can't repair what's actually shifting. It only soothes the surface. Understanding the behavior beneath the reaction is what truly restores power and peace of mind. As emotional focus shifts, privacy becomes a new pattern. Everyone deserves personal space, but secrecy and privacy aren't the same. When emotional energy begins leaning elsewhere, people instinctively protect that new connection. It might start with the phone being placed face down, messages cleared more quickly, or replies that suddenly feel vague. Each one seems harmless by itself, but together they form a pattern of guarded behavior. The human brain naturally shields new emotional attachments, even subconsciously, to preserve the excitement or validation they bring. Without awareness, these changes create growing emotional distance, cloaked under the label of needing space. You may catch momentary shifts, her locking her phone when you walk in, ending chats abruptly, or brushing off questions with vague replies. Many men instantly doubt themselves, afraid to seem insecure, telling themselves they're imagining things. But your instincts exist for a reason. The brain constantly reads emotional microsignals: tone, posture, energy. When those cues no longer align with the closeness you're used to, it triggers confusion and doubt. Secrecy doesn't always mean deception. It often means protection of new stimulation, a space she's emotionally invested in that feels fragile and thrilling. Recognizing this truth lets you see behavior for what it really is, not just what you hope it to be. Psychologists call this process emotional compartmentalization, the mind's survival mechanism for managing conflicting attachments. When someone becomes emotionally invested in another person, they create boundaries between that and their existing relationship to avoid emotional collisions. One side holds loyalty, the other holds novelty. Privacy increases, communication narrows, and once open doors quietly close. Routines shift, and details once freely shared now feel off-limits. It's rarely premeditated. It's how the mind preserves stability in two emotional realities that can't coexist without friction. Over time, a new pattern emerges that confuses men even more: criticism. Instead of just pulling away, she begins to pick at things: small habits, harmless quirks, even your personality traits. Suddenly you hear phrases like, "You've changed," or "We don't connect like we used to." Most men respond by trying harder, seeking approval and validation, thinking if they fix what's wrong, things will go back to normal. But psychologically, this is cognitive dissonance at work. Her brain resolving the guilt of attraction elsewhere by finding flaws in you. Imperfections become exaggerated, and her internal narrative slowly rewrites itself from, "This relationship means everything," to, "Maybe this isn't right anymore." It's not about the flaws. It's about making emotional exit feel justified. Healthy feedback helps relationships grow, but when criticism turns constant or sharp without clear paths to resolution, it signals detachment more than concern. Many men make the mistake of chasing love harder, offering more affection, gifts, or apologies to win back approval. Sadly, constant pursuit often deepens the imbalance. The harder they chase validation, the faster the emotional distance widens. Real intimacy can't be restored through desperation. It's rebuilt through awareness, honest communication, and emotional clarity. Eventually comes the quietest but most telling sign. Her priorities begin to evolve. Where she once eagerly made time for you, now her attention drifts toward other pursuits or people. Plans get postponed, conversations feel heavy or distracted, and the easy flow of connection transforms into effort. It's not merely about busyness, it's about emotional reprioritization. When a person's focus shifts, the relationship begins to feel like an obligation rather than a joy. The change isn't usually rooted in cruelty, but in human psychology. The mind naturally gravitates toward what feels stimulating, validating, or emotionally new. This shift leaves men feeling uneasy, sensing something slipping away even before anything obvious happens. That's why these 4 patterns, emotional distance, secrecy, unusual criticism, and shifting priorities, should never be ignored when they appear together. Any single sign can happen for harmless reasons, like stress or fatigue. But when several emerge simultaneously, it often reveals deeper emotional realignment happening beneath the surface. Understanding these patterns doesn't mean assuming the worst. It means paying attention to the consistency of behavior that psychology tells us rarely occurs by accident. Awareness gives you clarity before confusion turns into catastrophe. Your purpose isn't to become suspicious, it's to become aware. True strength lies in recognizing behavior without emotional panic. A grounded man doesn't deny his instincts. He observes patterns, asks questions calmly, and values his self-respect enough to face reality with honesty. The clearest power you'll ever have in relationships isn't control or guessing, it's clarity. When you stand in awareness instead of fear, you protect your peace and keep your dignity intact, no matter what unfolds next. If this conversation offered even one moment of clarity, hit subscribe and like the video. The more you learn about human psychology, the more equipped you become to handle relationships with confidence instead of confusion. Mastery of emotional awareness doesn't just help you in love, it strengthens every area of life. Relationships don't crumble overnight. They shift through patterns that become visible to those who know where to look. Recognizing distance, secrecy, criticism, and changing priorities doesn't make you controlling, it makes you conscious. And consciousness is where real emotional power begins. Once you understand these deeper patterns, everything changes. You stop overanalyzing, stop doubting your worth, and start standing firm in your emotional boundaries. Life's too short to drown in uncertainty or allow confusion to dictate your peace. The strongest men don't chase, they perceive. They act from understanding, not insecurity. Awareness gives you the freedom to see what's real, make wiser decisions, and protect your emotional energy from being wasted on illusions. When you operate from clarity, not fear, you move through every relationship with quiet power, calm strength, and full confidence in yourself. And sometimes, the answers you've been searching for were never hidden. They were simply waiting for you to notice them. Stay aware, stay grounded, and most importantly, stay true to what you feel, not what you're told to believe. Until next time.